Hi everyone, welcome to which episode is this? Sixth episode. Okay. Hello everyone, welcome to the sixth episode of Speed Session with Galgal. Today we have a prominent ad film director, Nikhil Rajani, who is also a very dear friend of ours. Welcome, Nikhil.
Hi. Hi. Hi, Harsh. Hi, Dash.
What's up? Honestly, I'm very excited for this podcast because I feel this is one of the few times that you are in front of the screen. You're not behind the screen directing the whole play. How does it feel to actually be in the situation?
It feels really normal because I'm with good friends. I'm just being myself, so it's fun.
Bro, so if you have to break it down in a very simple way,
Sure.
what direction is and what it involves, if you have to explain it to a layman, what is it?
It's organizing and orchestrating ideas for the camera. So it's organizing visuals like great cinematography, photography, music, choreography, acting, sets, designing, fashion, all of that, but from the lens of a camera. So you do everything from the point of view that you're going to shoot it and you're going to edit it to create an experience for viewers. That's what direction is.
And when you are going through this process of brainstorming and compartmentalizing all these things, do you have the end product in your vision? Do you already see that, okay, this is the project that you have in hand?
Right.
And you have already imagined that this is going to turn up like this. So then you have to break it down into what all steps do I need to take for me to achieve that goal?
Most definitely. I feel like it's calculated experimentation.
Okay.
So just like a builder has a blueprint and designs a building, similarly as a director you kind of have a vision, and that's what you're known for, your vision. Like every great director has a unique vision, and that's what makes them special. So obviously you do come in with your vision, and you get experts to collaborate with you, and how you achieve your vision. And sometimes you're trying to make something and you end up making something else because just over time your vision has changed, or you come up with better ideas, or the random improvisation on set after months of planning can really change everything, and you might make something way better than you even imagined. So it's all about experimentation and improvisation, but from a very planned perspective. So I think that's what the process is.
Yeah.
And I think the fun is when you work with others. So it's a collaborative field, and while the director is an important, they call him the captain of the ship, I think you're nothing without your crew. So it's all about, the merger, and it's like a melting pot of culture and creativity.
Like different ideas coming together.
Yeah, and then you have to kind of streamline those ideas and together create something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And directing movies and films is quite different, right? So
A little bit.
So how did you select your path that I want to get into advertisement?
So honestly, I think ads is ever changing. In a month I might work on 3 commercials. So you're always changing what you're doing. You're changing the people you work with. You're changing the project. One day I might be doing a fashion ad. The other day I might be doing like a super traditional advert. At the same time, the next day I might be doing something super vintage or humor. So it's always dynamic. You're always working with new technologies, and versus a movie, you probably live with it for, you write it for a year, you spend time getting it produced, then you shoot the movie. So it's like a 2 or 3 year process. So I feel like I like that fast changing environment. And maybe, I might make movies in the future. But at least for me, this was an interesting starting point for the ADHD creative in me.
For all you guys watching in the future, you heard it here first. Nikhil Rajani, the future Oscar-winning director.
Cheers to that, bro.
Cheers to that. But right now you are talking about dealing with projects which have a short life, right, in comparison to a movie. And there's another angle to it where these adverts have a commercial aspect to it. Obviously, movies have a commercial aspect to it, but this is not just a story, it's a story in which the brand wants you to take an action. It wants the viewer to actually buy the product or buy the services, right? So, how do you add that commercial aspect in the story? I mean, it must be very different from just narrating a story on screen. It's a great story, fine. But यहाँ पे you are asking the customer to be engaged with your art and also pushing the customer to actually take action that, okay, now I need to order this online.
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, I'd like to say something that, ad film directors make some of the best movies. Because if you can tell a story in 30 seconds, you can definitely tell a story in 2 hours. Also, I feel like the crafting is the same. So it's just a matter of fact of if you're a great storyteller, you could probably tell a great story in 30 seconds or a minute or an hour. So that doesn't change. The commercial aspects, I think, are very relevant. And I feel like you have to do it in a seamless way. There are different types of ads. Some are really hardworking. Some are like just brands. They just give you that feeling of a brand. They're not like selling you something. It's not buy one get one free.
Yeah.
So that's more of like winning hearts more than selling. Like Apple, for example, does not sell features. They sell creativity, and that's why we all own an Apple. It's a status game at the end of the day.
Right.
So
another example that comes to my mind is, say, Red Bull. Like Red
Yeah.
Bull don't like
gives you
advertise
wings.
themselves as like this is a drink that you should drink. You'll get extra caffeine in this when
Correct.
compared to like a
They
coffee.
talk about the adventure.
it's an
emotional
emotion, right?
storytelling, yeah.
Red Bull gives you wings. Did you know someone sued them recently saying it did not give me wings?
Actually.
Yeah, I think we can look it up, but I think someone, and they also won.
Okay.
Fun fact.
Yeah.
Yeah. So coming back to the commercial aspect of advertising, I think it's very important to blend that in your creative. Some of the best ads, they do it in a way that you don't feel like you're being sold to. You give someone entertainment, and you also, by the way, sell. So it's like you're giving them value, and also here's my product. If you like this, then you could buy it. So I think that's one aspect of it. At the same time, there is this aspect of certain ads are really hardworking. Like you see it, you just want to skip it, and I think all of us do, on especially in today's YouTube and Instagram age. And I think that's when brands also have realized that you need to make something clutter breaking. You need to make something that is a part of culture more than just selling your brand. Don't be self-serving. Create something that entertains people, and people will reward you.
Yeah.
I-
Like having like building upon these points, like I feel some of the ads that really stick in our minds are actually that have become part of culture. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at these ads like Maggie 2-minute noodles,
Yeah.
or like, which are some of your favorite ads? Like if you have
I
to,
think
like,
the thumbs up one, like Taste the Thunder.
Yeah.
There's so many iconic ads
Yeah.
over the years, right?
we should ask Nikhil actually.
Yeah. What is your favorite? What inspired you to get into this also, right?
What inspired me to get into this? Honestly, when I was 16 years old, I watched a movie called Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, directed by Michel Gondry. So that movie, it really like shook me up emotionally. It was like this visual experience, and I was like, wow, if a movie can make me feel so much, and I want to make other people feel. And that's when I decided to get into direction. Apart from that, I feel like I've always been a big fan of craft. So like when I see like some great ads, I'm also like wowed, right? You have this thing, how do they do this? Like you've created an experience of magic, like of wonderment, of amazement. So I think ads like that have really pushed me to kind of study the craft of it. Lately, some of the ads that have inspired me is like the cred ads. I think that they did with
Rahul
Kapil Dev
Dravid.
and Rahul Dravid. I think they were fab because they did not sell you a product. They sold you like the brand cred. Now everybody knows what cred is because of these bold ads. I think Tanmay Bhatt and these guys have written it,
Yeah.
Moonshot, and I feel like even if you go back to our childhood, you have like washing powder Nirma. It was this jingle that never got out of anyone's mind. So I feel like it's
still
as
ringing in
sticky.
my
It's
head.
sticky, right? Like, and everyone knows it by heart. Why? It was probably the most iconic or annoying ad in the world, but it's still here. Like we still think about it.
And that influences you like on such a
Yeah.
deep level that you don't even
It's
realize.
subconscious. Yeah.
It's actually a superpower if you can actually visualize something. And why I call it a superpower is because it's not just what's there in your mind. You have to convince other people and multiple stakeholders
Yeah.
who you're working with that this vision is exactly how it has to be. And you have
Correct.
to also regulate the creativity of other people, because those aspects might also influence your work. There might
For
be
sure.
another person, a musician or someone who's supplying some audio or related stuff for your ad. They might be like, "Nah, I want the music to be in this way," but that might not align with your vision. So have there been any challenges like when you stepped first into this industry and you said that, okay, I want to be a director? How was the transition from theory to the practical aspect of actually working with multiple people and directing an ad?
Yeah, I think that's an excellent question. Constantly when we are working, you work with a lot of different individuals, and ad films or any kind of craft, you're always working with new people, whether it's a new music director, whether it's a new cinematographer, whether it's a new art director. So everyone has their own film that they want to make and their own vested interest. Like someone might want to light up the scene really dark, but that a brand like Maggie, for example, is not going to want to have like a super dark film. So you have to kind of come there and change a certain amount of things. At the same time, in any business or any field, right, there's everybody wants to take over. So that's when a director has to kind of come in and just curate that vision to make sure that everyone's contributing to the grander scheme of things more than their personal ulterior. That's what I feel about the vision. And what I find really fascinating though is it all starts off with one email, one piece of paper where you just write an idea, and maybe 2 months later it's this huge thing that you've created. And sometimes it breaks the internet, sometimes it wins hearts. I think the ultimate goal of any ad is to when your parents send it to you on WhatsApp. I think that's when you've made it.
Yeah, yeah. But what was your first project like? Like, the
So-
first project that you worked on?
When I was 21, I directed this commercial for OLX.
OLX, okay.
Yeah.
That was your first project?
Yes.
Okay.
So just to, sorry to cut in between,
Yeah.
but for a newcomer, right? Since we just started talking, so you're saying you got the big break as a director, or you had to freelance and
So-
work your way up through it, which is what would
Yeah.
be nice to know for the audience as well. Yeah.
Definitely. I think for a newcomer, see, there are many ways to do it. Filmmaking, direction, these are not like your typical careers where you can just get like a mass media degree and you can't just show up and say, oh, I'm a director, right?
Correct.
Every field you need to work your way up. It's just that I feel like the most important skill for someone to have is high agency. Because if you have that, you'll find a way to make it happen. The way I began was I worked with Prahlad Kakkar for like 2 years, at his company called Genesis Films. So he's like the Indian advertising guru. Apart from that, there I worked with a lot of like foreign directors, freelance directors. So I worked with many directors to see how each person has their own vision. And you learn different things from different people. I closely worked with many of them as a director's assistant. After that, I kind of graduated college. This was all throughout college that I was working. So I've been working since I was 16. So while I graduated, I made like this little film that won a contest.
Okay.
So that was as a director. That was like my self-funded, thing. It was me made it for cheap, like for nothing probably, but lots of favors, and found aunts and uncles to act, and I shot it at someone's house. Pulled all the favors, borrowed someone's dog. Like it was like literally like my friend's son who shot it for me. Like he was 16 or 14, and he was just catching the camera and shooting. So it was a lot of jugaad, you could say. And so that's high agency. I didn't have to do that. I did it because I was just curious to know, what would happen if I made it. Cut to like I think a month later, out of some 5,000-10,000 films, my film won, and they had like all these Bollywood directors and producers like, Zoya Akhtar, Rakesh Mehra, Om Prakash Mehra, Vikram Aditya Motwane, and all these guys as judges. And my film won. And then they gave me like, I think I remember 2 lakhs. And this huge big check. And, I was also very young. So they said, you've won this and this is a fund and you can make another film on a social cause. So that's when I was like, okay, I made something. I'm not a director per se. I'm like 16, 17 years old. And if I am winning something, maybe there's some potential to it. So then I made this film for them for 2 lakh rupees, which, I made a very cute film and they were very happy with it. And I'm like, this is my first commission job as a director. The budget was peanuts, but it was something, right?
Something, yeah.
Like I literally was operating the camera myself. We were doing all of it. And right after that, I, got myself a job. And using all of this, I have no idea how, but I got my first ad to direct for OLX like a month later. And I think this was a very experimental campaign back then. So that's the reason they gave it to someone like me. It was like the rise of digital advertising, which was not as popular and rampant as today. Like today there are so many opportunities, but back then the director's standard age was like 45 and I'm 21 at that age. So it was a big thing. I directed this campaign, turned out really nice. They sent it to Cannes Lion Adfest, which is like the Cannes of advertising.
Right.
And it made a big wave, and this was with like a very nice agency called Leo Burnett. It's like probably the world's biggest ad agency.
Definitely. One of the biggest for sure.
Yeah. So one thing led to another. Couple of months later, I was in New York shooting with Hugh Jackman. I got to direct him for a digital campaign for Micromax.
Okay.
And I think after that, it took off. It's been a journey. It's not been as meteorical as they show in movies. Like it's had its ups and downs. Times where you doubt yourself. Times when you feel like all my friends are doing business, and maybe I should just stick to that. Why am I trying to go through this offbeat path? But at the same time, I feel like the high of creating something from scratch, and when you actually create what you visualize, it's when it really feels assuring. It gives you that creative juice, gives you that self-belief that you can do it. And I think the beauty is every film that you make, I think as any kind of crew member, as a director, as even like the films that I used to make in college, everything I made, I would learn one thing. And till date, everything that you do, you learn something. And I think that is the rewarding process. And after that, I've directed about 100 ads up to date with like brands like Maybelline, Vivo, Google, Myntra, etc. with celebrities like Shah Rukh Khan, Deepika, and a bunch of Bollywood people. So I feel like you can do anything if you just put your mind to it, you work hard. But there is a method to the madness. So like circling back, you were saying that how does a newcomer approach it?
Yeah.
Don't mindlessly just assist for years. You have to have an agenda. Like, what am I learning from this experience? Am I learning something, or am I just contributing to a project? And I made like a plan in my head that I will assist, certain directors, provided that, I'm learning a skill from them, which is, hands-on. That's why I was like, I worked with a lot of international directors. So where I was sitting and learning things until a point where I felt like, okay, now I feel like in my head, maybe it was my ego talking, but I was like, I can do this better. And the day that happened is the day
You took that leap.
I took that leap. I started directing commercially as a freelancer, and touch wood, it's been great.
And for sure, I mean, like for you to be that successful at like 21 or at an early age where the average age of the director was 45 is amazing. Like it actually showed that you had a very calculative approach on how do you want to progress in this industry, and in a way trust your gut. And I think a lot of it in this field, especially because the creative field, is trusting your gut, right?
Yeah.
Not getting influenced by those external factors, and you're just sticking to your vision and proceeding forward. No, I mean honestly, man, great
Cheers,
stuff. Like,
So should we, like, because not many people know what goes behind the scenes, and
Yeah.
you're the, you've done it. So should we do like a quick 10-minute on ad filmmaking 101 where you,
Sure.
let's say we are your prospective clients for Galgal.
Yeah.
Or, okay, not that. You basically run us through behind the scenes of one of your favorite ads that you've directed, from step one till execution till post results, and how you all celebrate the success, measure if it's successful or not, and run us through the whole thing.
Definitely.
Yeah, that would be great.
I'll just talk about my latest ad for Myntra that
Okay.
I shot with Khushi Kapoor and Vedang Raina, who were featured in Archie's.
Okay.
So I got a call from an advertising agency, and they sent me a script.
Okay.
And I read the script. It looked really exciting. Again, it was a very long script, so we had to craft it out. So what a director does, basically, when they get a script, is they do a briefing call with an advertising agency, and on that briefing call, you're told that this is how we are seeing it. They tell you their points of reference. This is what they want from an ad. For example, we want people to leave with this feeling that Myntra Forward is this new thing for Gen Z. So that is what the takeaway is. So you note all these things. You note the target audience. You note the kind of emotional level that they are at, and a bunch of things, and how fashionable do they want to make it. And then you sit with your own thoughts and your vision. How would you see this? Like, I feel like we are 10 people in this room. Each person would see the same story and could see it in a different way.
True.
We've all seen.
So you don't write the script. Script
So
came
it
to
comes to me sometimes I write it. Depends
Okay.
on the brand, the agency.
Okay.
A lot of the big brands, they work with an advertising agency, so they develop a 360-degree campaign.
you. Okay.
So when they're developing a campaign, they write a skeleton of a script that a director comes in and they really improvise. So that's when I took the script and I sat for like some 4 days, and I juiced it out and created moments, created a visual language. So I'm known for creating visual worlds for brands. So like I love creating worlds and building worlds for brands, that they can own uniquely. And
What is a visual language? Like if you have to like simplify it further.
a visual language is just, I would say, every brand has a tone. For example, if you see McDonald's, it's just red and yellow color palette.
It just came in my head when you
yeah.
said McDonald's.
It's a psychological thing where they've chosen colors that I think most fast food brands do that, because red and yellow, it causes an impulse. It's, I think, neuroscience that makes you want to crave and indulge.
Yeah, red. Red does that.
Yeah. So similarly, a visual language is creating like a palette. It's creating a world, like a visual identity. It's creating, what are the rules in this brand? Like, there are brands that sell you a feature directly, and then there are brands that in a cred ad, everything's absurd. So you could call that like the brand is slightly quirky, versus Dettol, which is very like scientific. So each brand, they have like an underlining theory. It's like what they want you to feel when you see a commercial.
Slightly on a different tangent, but it's what a space will make you feel, like a physical space. You
Yeah.
enter a space, if it's too cluttered and it's
Definitely.
super messy,
Yeah.
you are not going to feel at ease over there, versus a space which is like very neatly organized and the colors
sure.
are very muted, so you're going to be at ease over there. I think the same sort of philosophy applies at these things, right? When I'm looking at a screen for 30 seconds, what colors are you throwing at me? How are things placed, or how are the objects and the people in that 30 seconds acting? Like, what are the facial expressions? All those minor details makes a big difference, I feel, subconsciously.
100%. I feel like you're saying, whether it's a minimalistic setup, whether it's a maximalistic setup, whether the colors are bold, whether the colors are muted, pastel, are you using wood? Everything is thought through in advertising, especially. Even in movies, I feel like if you see the movie Parasite, the apartment or the structure that they lived in, which was this beautiful, bungalow. It was super modern. It was trying to represent our times. So there was a lot of thought process that went into that. So similarly in advertising, there's a lot of thought that goes into colors of the set, that the director along with the production designer and the DOP together you sit and craft out the best color. How are you lighting up a scene? If you put a light on the bottom, it'll look like a horror movie. If you put it on top, it'll look like a spotlight. If you put it in front, it'll look like a beauty ad. Versus like a sports ad would be like a light from behind where it's a silhouette. So it makes you feel like if you stand in front of a mirror, depends where you keep the light, your abs are gonna pop out. So it's all about there's a method to the madness. Everything in a video, in a film, in an ad is thought through, and I think that's what makes it's precision. There's no randomness. I mean, I'm sure there is, but from your side as a director, you have to basically be a control freak. So hire the best individuals and let them do their job.
So once you have penned down this vision of yours, and
Correct.
what's the next step? Like,
So
if
then-
you have to.
Sure. A director makes a treatment note. Sometimes you and your team make it, sometimes you make it yourself. So in a treatment note, it's basically a presentation of your vision for this advert. So in this treatment note, you take them through your vision of the script. For example, if boy meets girl, it's one story. It's so simple, but you can say it in 100 ways. We've watched 100 of movies that have done it differently. Some will talk about the universe, some will talk about accidents, some will talk about serendipity, So there are different ways to say the same thing. So similarly, you basically pen down that with references, you kind of create a visual world for it. So, how would the set be? How would the lighting be? How would the camera work be? How would the music be? So it's all thought through. So you're basically selling them your vision of how you want to do this commercial. And they're coming to you for your unique vision. Like, is there an old Hindi song that's playing in the background? Or is it modern pop? Both have a different feeling.
Right.
Both will leave people with a different feeling at the end of the ad.
Right.
So this is the pitch, like your
This is
pitch,
the pitch.
to them.
And apart from this, also a budget goes in.
Your budget or
No, the overall production budget of. So generally, a production company and a producer basically and a director work together. So they will basically account for what this vision is. Do you need 100 dancers or do you need 5? So everything comes together. You work on a pitch. Is it a 3-day shoot? Is it a 2-day shoot? And then you kind of compile everything together. Editing, post-production. Who do you want to do music with? Do you want to get the latest Bollywood music producer, or do you want just a normal, music guy? So all these things come together. Do you want to work with the guy who shot like a latest movie, who's really good? Like we've worked with a lot of these guys, and I think the crew members in Bollywood and advertising, it's all the same. So people are always just fluctuating.
Okay.
But should the budget come from your client first, and then you create a budget sheet for them that this is what you can get for this much money, or is the other way around?
Generally, clients do have budgets, but at the same time, it's all dependent on the vision, and clients will pay more for a better vision. Sometimes they won't, but mostly it's all about even they give you a ballpark. So even an ad agency, they'll give you a ballpark. For example, they say we have a crore for a commercial. So sometimes even a crore is not enough. You might need 3 crores, and sometimes a crore is too much. So it all depends on what you're trying to create. What is the complexity? Do you have stunts? Do you have an action team? Do you need like advertising sets generally have a lot of people, especially in India. You have like 300, 400 people on a typical set.
For an advert.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a lot of employment also. Like the overall process with post-production and all, I would say about 500 people have worked on a commercial, and it's taken you like a month or 2 to create from start to finish. And there are ads that also start in 1 week, and in 15 days they're on air. So that's also prevalent, but at the same time there's a lot of scope, and depends on what kind of project. Is there a little animation? Is it very simple? So it all depends on that.
So I'll share some personal insights
Sure.
on what we did at Galgal for
Yeah.
our advertisement, right?
Yeah.
So similar to you, right? We were close to launching the product, and we went live with our beta last year.
Yeah,
And
I
then
know.
one of my childhood friends, Dave, is also an ad film director.
Okay.
So I went up to him. I'm like, boss, how do we spread awareness? What should we do behind this? Is like talking from a brand startup point of view.
Yeah.
And he said, let me make an ad for you. You know, even though reels and all of this is trending on social media, it's not going to reach and penetrate 100,000 people or million people. And we decided YouTube is going to be our strategy, right? And we sat and like you said, right? Like I told him, listen, I have 5 lakhs for an advertisement. What
Yeah.
can we do? And he started laughing. He's
Five
like, for 5 lakhs, we'll probably shoot it at his house. Is what
Wow.
his pitch was.
Yeah.
And like you said in the start of the podcast, Jogad, right?
Yeah.
So he came up with the script. He came up with what the core proposition, what we wanted to portray was that you will spend and save better with Galgal because you're budgeting your inflow of cash
Right.
and have fun with it in an easy way. So he came up with this cool concept where Adarsh Gaurav at that
Yeah.
point is his best friend. So
Oh,
we
wow.
said, let's use our network how much ever we can,
Yeah,
save
100%.
money and get favors. And Adarsh also used to work out in my gym. So
Oh, cool.
I had a
Little
personal rapport with him. And I
Yeah.
said, boss, you know, do us a favor. Let's try to work together. And his whole idea was 2 guys sitting on the couch. They broke, the lights go off because they've not saved money. And suddenly the Galgal god pops up like
Yeah.
Amitabh Bachchan on the TV and tells them how do you save, spend, and then they have flashy clothes. And
Yeah.
it's a
I've
very-
seen this ad.
you've seen it, right?
On,
So-
social media.
but like you said, there were like over 50 people
Yeah.
shooting this, cameras, we needed animation.
Yeah.
But yes, the budget was kept strict from
Minimal,
day
yeah,
one. We
for
didn't
sure.
exceed even by a rupee.
Which is awesome.
In fact, he actually saved us some money because he used his personal connections for every
Everything, yeah,
vendor
yeah.
possible. And like you said, we bought our own props. I got a PlayStation from my house.
That's awesome.
We tried to do
I
all
still do that sometimes.
Right.
Like, there are days when you feel like this pink color banana would look really nice. And,
Yeah.
it's a showpiece at your house. You pick it up,
Yeah.
take
But-
it on set.
Yeah. The challenge we faced was we realized after the post production was actually marketing the advertisement is much more expensive than the advertisement itself, right?
Yeah, I feel like
That's the challenge, and reaching to the millions means
Correct.
you need big media budget spend.
yeah, I feel like when there's a big brand, generally they have those things accounted for.
Yeah.
If they're spending 10 rupees on production, they're going to probably spend 50, 70, 100 rupees on putting it out there.
Yeah.
As a startup, I feel like
We couldn't do that.
it's
yeah,
a tough,
thing
place to be in.
Yeah.
But at the same time, that's when it inspires you to create something even more creative,
Yeah.
something that should ideally break the internet. I think that's what it's all about. Because we're blessed that today we have the internet. There was a time when it was just TV advertising and it was unaffordable for any startup. So I feel like now you have content, you have reels, you have so many different ways to push through, and you can spend money and target the right kind of audience.
Yeah.
All of that really comes into play at the same
Makes a big
time.
difference.
You consider reels also as ads because they also 30-second, 60-second
I don't.
videos.
I think reels are competition to advertising.
Okay.
This whole influencer marketing, it's massive competition. Not immediately, but I feel like it's basically, I would say, democratizing production. Like today, you could pay 5 lakhs to a influencer and she'll shoot something in a house. She doesn't need to make a set. She doesn't need to. It's more organic. She comes with the viewers. So it is also really nice. I feel like it works for certain brands. A lot of brands are shifting.
This was the
advertising.
challenge we faced because I was in the dilemma: should I go with an influencer or an ad? But my gut said that the influencer will be posting several brands.
100%.
There's no brand loyalty,
Yeah.
and we don't. And also there's no way to measure the success because
Yeah.
the influencer, if they have fake followers and
That's
fake
true. That's a very
engagement,
rampant thing though in
then
today's
then
day.
I don't know if
Yeah.
it's value for money.
For
So
sure.
we went with the what you said,
And are you
right?
guys happy with
Advertisement
that?
view, and plus it wasn't a finished product. Like it's still Galgal beta, and we're working on
Yeah.
something of a full product suite launch now.
Hmm.
So in hindsight, yeah, we are happy with that because whoever saw that advertisement now
Oh, look.
remembers. Okay, Adarsh Gaurav
that's a
was
big
there in that
name.
advertisement,
He's a big name,
and actually, people even from the West messaged me because I posted it on LinkedIn. I studied abroad.
right.
A cool ad, so yeah, it catered to a wider audience, I would say,
That's nice.
versus a reel. Because if people are not
Yeah.
on an Instagram
For
platform, how I can't share that influencer's video
Yeah.
on WhatsApp as a forward
That doesn't look nice.
to my uncle sitting in America. But the YouTube
sure.
link was much more shareable.
Yeah.
And I feel like an advert, like a commercial that you made, it's also great to show like your investors, just to introduce them to your product. So it looks a lot more proper. I mean, people take you a little more seriously. Like every brand that's prominent has made commercials and will continue to do so. So from that point of view, I'm not worried about influencer marketing.
Yeah.
But it's definitely something that how you have TV and you also have radio. Similarly, like it's there. I feel like you can put a little chunk of your money in that, but advertising at the same time is always going to be there.
When you say putting chunk of your money, like since you have worked with so many prominent brands,
Sure.
and I'm sure like you're drawing your inspiration from multiple places, right? It could be agencies in India, it could be agencies in the West,
Yeah.
or wherever. So, how do the budgets look like when you compare brands, the way they spend on advertising in India versus the brands, the way they spend on advertising in the West?
I think it all comes down to the socio-economic factors in a country per se. So the United States of America, like I've shot there multiple times, whether it's New York or LA, and they have skilled labor. Firstly, so the labor that probably 10 lightmen do in India, you have one guy for each person. So on an average set, you have about 30-40 guys in India. In the US, 3 guys are enough.
Just 3 guys.
And they're efficient, and in fact, they might be more efficient.
Okay.
So skilled labor, skilled logistics, it's all they've made it in such a way that everything is doable by 3 people, 4 people. So I feel like from that point of view, they've got savings, but they obviously spend more money on these labor people, like because they have skilled labor, so they're obviously going to be probably 5 times.
It comes with the price
cost.
tag.
It all comes with the price tag. India has labor that's really cheap. The United States does not. So I think that is something that's a big contrast. At the same time, in the United States, I think an average budget for an advert, it would be about $1 million, versus in India, in today's day and age, 40 lakhs, 50 lakhs, 1 crore tops. Like, that's a standard ad that I'm talking about.
And in that also there'll be a lot of negotiations.
Yeah. I mean, you know how Indians are, we love negotiating.
Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely the quality does drop in India but what works in the United States does not always work in India. So you
Of
need
course,
to realize
because
that
India has so many different languages, right?
we're an emotional country.
Regional.
Regional.
Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati,
Correct.
Tamil. You need to cater
And,
to the wider audience.
in a country where, I think mostly masala movies work. So you need to realize who you're talking to and pitch them from that voice.
100%. Like for example, like if like with the rise of South Indian movies, like now a lot of like the audience in the north, like the Indians in the north, are also familiar with the actors from the south. But if you go back 10 years ago, a lot of people were not aware of these artists and actors from the south. I went recently to Bangalore and I saw like most of the billboards had like local sandalwood actors, or like promoting the brands.
Yeah.
So that resonates with the audience over there. So I think India, you have to be very mindful because India in itself is like a subcontinent, right? There's so many different countries within this country.
There are many countries within this country.
Yeah, so you have to be very mindful about the social sensitivities of like people over
For
here.
sure.
Yeah.
And you have to realize that in the West, what they do is it's more non-emotional advertising versus in India, like you have to sell emotions and features because the very famous when they launched Sunsilk, the shampoo, there was a time when they realized that in order to penetrate towards the real India, they need to break these bottles into sachets that are for 1 rupee, where an average villager can, buy one every 2 days. And that's how they kind of broke into that market. So you have to realize that what works for your country, what works for the many countries within your country,
Yeah.
like you were saying.
Do you like advise companies on like these strategic aspects as well? Because now you have so much experience working with different brands, right? So are you like a director slash consultant? Like
I am actually. So a lot of brands approach me directly as well. A few couple of my friends from advertising agencies also. So because I kind of come in not just as a director. I think of each project that I jump into is how does it actually help the brand more than just make a good film, because I love business. I've been very passionate about it, and I invest a little bit as well. And I feel like for me, it's a thrill about how you can, build something and it should be effective.
Right.
And every ad that I do, I'm curious about, how has it given a good ROI for, the brand, whether it's a good ROAS, which is return on ad spend. So all of these things I'm curious about, and my curiosity has kind of led me to consulting with different brands, and also sometimes I come on board just as a creative director where I'm shaping the ad and not even making it because of the way I see it.
And what happens when the ad doesn't perform? Like the creative output is there, but at the same time maybe the targeting of the ad was not the most efficient. So have there been instances where the plan has not gone according to plan and you have had to change something? Can you change
Definitely.
something after that?
Yeah, 100%. So I feel like obviously if you're gonna I've worked on probably 500 ads now, directed 100, but also before I was a director I worked on so many. So I realized that everything can be addressed eventually. There was this one campaign where we created this. I was working with a Spanish director back then, and we created this awesome commercial, and it was like multi-crow campaign, and we shot in a set. We made this beautiful futuristic set, and we presented it to the board of directors of a very prestigious brand, and the owner slash MD, it's probably like India's biggest, one of the few bigger brands, Indian brands, and he was like, my factory does not look like this. And we were all looking at each other saying, this is what we all discussed. And while obviously the middle management had agreed on certain things, he was not okay to go ahead with the vision. So then we decided I flew down to Chennai, to their real research center, and clicked high resolution pictures from like this DSLR, and in VFX we had to replace everything.
Okay.
So obviously that came with a little expenditure as well, but it was quite crazy because we made it as authentic as possible, because
That's insane.
yeah, advertising is a little insane sometimes.
And have you seen any ads get boycotted or
Definitely.
Outrage.
public outrage?
So I directed something for Manchester United. So they had tied up with ICICI Bank. So I directed this commercial for them in 2018 or 20, and it went viral. It broke the internet. On Twitter, all the Manchester United fans were celebrating it, but all the other teams, they were hating on it in the UK, and like it went on the John Oliver show, and like some people were making fun of it. Some people were saying what a brilliant ad.
Why were they making fun of it?
What was the ad about? We're gonna pop it up on the screen.
Sure. So basically, it's this guy with his girlfriend. He's come to meet her parents, and the father is very like Sadhu, so he's not really like vibing with this
The guy.
Yeah, and he's trying to make a good impression, and then finally the check comes in, and he puts his card, and the father sees it. It's a Manchester United credit card.
Okay.
And the father looks at him, and this guy dabs. And they both like basically dab, and it's quite hilarious. It was like a funny
References to Pogba.
yeah, basically.
Yeah.
At the time, we did a couple of commercials, so one had featured a little bit of Pogba as well. But that ad went crazy, and then he also showed him his socks, and his socks had Manchester United under his suit. So like, it was this like hilarious kind of approach that we took, and it really gave a lot of traction to the brand. Like I think with everything, right? If you want to make some noise, sometimes some people are going to
Question
laugh
it.
with you, some people are going to laugh at you, and I
Yeah.
think it's a part and parcel of everything that you do.
No, but
It's a
it's
cost of making some noise.
I love the angles you have used over here, because India, again, emotional country,
Yeah.
and this is like a situation where a lot of Indians face, like they are trying to impress their girlfriends or their
Correct.
fiance's father, or
Yeah.
even their wife's father. Like, you know, just because you're married doesn't mean you can impress your father-in-law.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm married, guys, so yeah. So
I hope you don't face that.
so like, and you have added that angle to it, and you have the sports angle to it, where like
Yeah.
you obviously, like a lot of people from our generation have been like
Brought up.
devout Manchester United fans,
For
right?
sure.
You're a Chelsea fan, so yeah.
I
But
used to be a Chelsea fan.
so merging all these things in a relatable way, like, you know, I think it's beautiful, and I think
Yeah.
that's the beauty of like Indian ad directors, because you mentioned that you're working on limited budgets.
Yeah.
So I think that also challenges you to
For sure.
be very mindful about how you're spending your money. Like if you had a massive budget, then you might slack off a little bit. I'm not saying you would, but like there is a tendency that you get comfortable. Like I have a lot of money, let me just get the best star, or let me get the best set. But now that jugadu mindset won't kick in.
Definitely. Creativity, I feel, is harnessed by your limitations in anything, right? Whether you're doing up your house, whether you're, you know, starting a startup. I'm sure you guys do this all the time as well, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's not about what you have, it's where you take things.
Correct.
We're shooting this on our iPhones, right?
Exactly, and it's going to look perfectly great. It's going to be on YouTube, Instagram, and who says you can't do it?
Yeah.
But talking about creativity, now you see the rise of new technologies, especially AI. Like it's a hot topic right now. And last year we saw these protests in America. Hollywood basically was shut for a couple of days, and people were like really pissed off about a lot of their jobs are being threatened because the rise of AI and copywriting, or like just tools like Midjourney and DALI. All these different tools have empowered so many individuals who would take years to like develop those skill sets. So what is your take on these new age technologies like AI and stuff?
I use Midjourney all the time, and I love it. It helps me visualize. So you know, sometimes, like I was saying on a pitch, you know, you have very random scripts come in sometimes that you can't reference to. Like I had this script where Ranveer Singh was sleeping on a mountain of pillows. I'm not going to find a picture in any ad in the world or movie. So I just typed it on Midjourney, and it actually created something so cool. So I feel like if it can help you, why not?
Efficiency, time.
And time is money. At the same time, every technology is first, you know, shat on. People make fun of you. And after a while, it becomes a part of your life. So similarly, why can't you use Midjourney? I feel like designers should use Midjourney, and everyone should, whoever needs to, and whoever, if it can help you.
Even script writing, you can improvise on.
Yeah,
Right,
you can.
final
You can
touches.
definitely use it. Like I've tried it. I tried writing like a couple of stories that I had already in my mind. I was like, let me experiment with ChatGPT. And while obviously it's not as good as a person, you never know what it can be. And if it gives you one idea also, why not? Regarding the strikes, I feel like the main reason behind the strikes, there are multiple reasons. Firstly, I feel like I've not dwelled too much into the topic, but from what I know, the issue was also about writers not getting paid enough. From the fact that before on TV, every time an episode would be played, or you know, they keep on re-airing shows, writers would get paid a lump sum of money, for example, every year. But after Netflix and the whole rise of digital OTT, their payments and their royalties had become negligible. So it was impossible for them to make a living and actually to live off that. So that was a major reason in why, you know, these guys was striking. AI also was another thing, but I feel like AI will not completely ever replace human beings. It's more like a tool. Like
To
you
help
use
you,
Word, you use a dictionary. Similarly, we will use AI. It's already a part of everyone's lives at the moment. But at the same time, if the people that are going to be creating the shows that we all consume are not commercially paid, I feel like it's obviously gonna hit a plateau where the best talents won't come to writing.
There's
and
no
then
incentive.
incentives to work, and the quality will drop
Yeah.
over time, and that's the reason.
Can you shoot a whole complete advertisement using AI, an animated one now, which could
Definitely.
help brands like us
You can
not spend that kind of money?
you can definitely attempt it.
Yeah.
There are certain drawbacks to it, but at the same time, I feel like if you're going to constantly make content for your Instagram or YouTube, you can definitely use Midjourney. You can definitely use
We do, yeah.
couple of more softwares, and animate those photos and kind of add AI audio, or just dub yourself and kind of put it all together and create like a sort of ad, like an animated ad. But it's not obviously going to be perfect. You're not going to have 100% control, but it's definitely usable. And I feel like if it helps you tell a story, why not?
Should we attempt it after the episode?
Yeah, we
The
can do it.
30-second
Yeah.
one.
100%.
You can give us a hand in that.
100%. I'm happy to help.
Yeah.
Which
Like-
are some of the other like technologies that you're using right now, the new age technologies apart from AI?
So right now, there's a lot of hoo-ha about virtual production, where you use like an LED screen in the background instead of a set. So you put things in the foreground like structures, and then in the background, suppose you're shooting like a desert, so you kind of put like the visual of the desert, and you kind of shoot according to that. So it's
Okay.
like a new age green screen. So that's like a big thing that's really circulating in the industry at the moment. So I think
Is it cost effective?
it is like, see, these screens are also costly to rent per day. They run into lakhs, and depends on the size and all of that. But at the same time, it's not bad at all. I feel like it looks a lot more real than green screen, because green screen, the more time you put into it and you give it in post production, that's when you turn out with something that looks semi-real. Versus this looks a lot better because of the technology, because they've developed these high range LED screens. At the same time, you have like Unreal Engine, which is this awesome software, which you use in post production, and you can create some real awesome VFX that looks very real life like. And they also use it to make games. So that's the reason why it's so easy to make and use. Apart from that, there's like, so advertising and I think filmmaking, right, at the same time, while you are always telling a story, it's also a very technology driven business. It's labor intensive, and it's your technology capex is very high always, because you're always trying to use new softwares, you're always trying to use new technologies, you're always trying to use new cameras, new lenses, you have rigs, you have cranes, you have drones. Like I have a drone that I use all the time, and so it's all about, like for example, if you're shooting a car ad, you basically have to rent out a Mercedes with a crane attached to it.
Okay.
Because in order to shoot a car moving, you have to also be faster than it.
Right.
So it's great fun though. Like I shot this car ad for Maruti Suzuki Ertiga, and we were shooting it in Film City on the road, and we literally had this car that and it's like you're basically in an action movie when you're doing that, because you have one guy who's driving the car, you have one guy who's kind of pivoting the crane, and it's like this huge crane attached to a car.
Yeah.
I'll show you guys a photo, it's awesome. And you're sitting there, and one guy's kind of changing focus, the director squeezed in the middle, and then you have the DOP who's kind of zooming out, zooming in on the camera. So it's like a high adrenaline moment, and I think shooting cars is a
And in
lot
the middle of
fun.
all of this, you have to get the perfect shot.
Yeah, and you have a precision driver driving it. So I think it's a lot of fun. It's like an action-packed adventure. Like I remember once I was shooting this commercial in LA. We were shooting about half an hour, 40 minutes away from Vegas. It's this place called Valley of Fire. So they shot Transformers, the movie, in that place, and it's about like half an hour away from Area 51, where they supposedly have kept aliens.
Yeah.
And it was quite interesting because It was this beautiful rugged area, and we have like drones, and you can drive full speed. You're shooting like a Bajaj ad over there, and it was just insane.
Wow.
So apart from these technologies, I feel virtual reality and augmented reality is also making waves, right? And
Yeah.
Apple recently launched their Vision Pro, where they're talking about the whole immersive visual experience, where you'll be able to watch a cricket match, for example, like your IPL match in
The stadium.
a 3D, yeah, like a 3D stadium sort of an experience
At home.
at home. And we all know how much money is spent on IPL ads.
Yeah.
So, what do you think the future of IPL ads looks like in a virtual reality environment?
Firstly, I really want to get my hands on this Vision Pro. It looks so cool. I feel like in the metaverse, in augmented reality, and all of these things, right? As a brand, you want to be as organic as possible. You don't want to ads irritate people. That's the truth. So you want to be as effortless. You want to be as integrated into the technology. If the person is sitting on a seat at a stadium, you probably want your hoarding to be there, behind a seat. You want to be as subtle. You want it to be as less obstructive. You want ads to always empower a viewer than to piss. Like I remember, there was a time where we used to watch TV and we did not have Netflix, and we had 3 minutes where we used to rush to the loo because no one wants to actually watch ads. You're forced to watch ads. So similarly, I feel brands should remember that and create content in ads that people want to watch. If you can entertain someone, if you can put a smile or make them feel something, it's all about that. It's not about forcing your ad down someone's throat. Also, I feel like we could really play around with the technology using 3D, using screens in a stadium, kind of almost like making, if a brand wants to kind of integrate in a way that the brand basically just shows up on top of the stadium. You could do so much from that point of view because you have viewers from the point of view of an audience.
Yeah.
So you can really play around with the technology and create something that's really like interactive.
It might even look like the advert is actually happening on the field.
basically
Yeah,
like
it's like they're watching like a live advert, like a performance
Yeah.
on the ground. So it could, I mean, we can just speculate about how this is going to happen, but I think the
100%.
ecosystem is a little too young to, like, for us to even think about it. But not that
it'll
far.
catch up because right now, even if you watch normal IPL, you see so many times like projections of the brand on
Yeah.
the stadium.
Yeah.
That's not actually a real thing. It's just VFX.
Yeah.
So I definitely think it is coming in the near future.
Yeah, excited about that.
And
Yeah.
based on your insights and expertise, what change would you like to promote in the industry?
One thing that I'm an advocate for is I feel like a strict guideline on working hours. A lot of shoots, especially, they go on for 12 hours, 15 hours, sometimes 18 hours. So I feel like, it's, you got to take care of yourselves because we are an emerging nation. We don't give a lot of thought to that, but just in terms of, working conditions, working hours, meals on time. I feel like those are things that, as a director, as a producer, or as anyone from the industry, I feel like it's very important for us to focus on that as we continue to prosper.
That's
Right.
crucial, yeah.
And I feel like if you don't take care of your people, then what are you doing as a leader?
But how much of that is in your control? Like, for example, if like an actor or an actress is not really delivering on their performance, so how can you control this aspect?
So it's the job of a director to kind of make them feel at ease. It's, you have to kind of charm them into doing that, getting them out of their
Make them
fears,
comfortable.
make them comfortable. So like on my sets, usually I just play really nice music. It has to feel like a vibe, and then most of the celebrities that I work with, they just enjoy themselves and they end up giving like great performances because it's coming out so naturally. Like you have to make people feel empowered. Sometimes you're working with kids and you have to kind of operate on their level. Maybe like play their favorite song. Sometimes, like when Ranveer Singh comes on a set, he loves to play his own music. So he won't let me play my music. And because I know him, that's fine. But he's very thoughtful on the type of music he listens to so that he can kind of get into the zone of the character. And, he really internalizes this whole aspects. So I remember one ad we were working on a long time ago, and he had to kind of act like he was preparing to act, like he was acting in the ad. You know, with the script, he was kind of like reading it out, and he's like, so he was listening to Eminem, and I think that time he was, you know, preparing for his role in Gully Boy. So he just started rapping, and you know, but he's awesome. I love his energy.
That's crazy. How is it like, you know, managing someone like Ranveer Singh, who's like an established actor,
Yeah.
versus managing someone who is an upcoming actor? What's the difference like?
I feel like the difference is experience. Generally, an actor like Ranveer Singh, Shah Rukh Khan, Akshay Kumar, who I've directed, Deepika, they are so natural. They've done this a million times. So they come with a power pack of experience. While obviously they might be one take artists, like they might just, you know, give you 2 takes and they'll be done with each shot. So that's quite effortless from that point of view. At the same time, if you're working with someone young, like I was working with Siddharth Chaturvedi, who's our age, he's like this really cool actor. He did Gully Boy, Geraya, and everything. Kogayam Ka right now. So he comes up with a lot of enthusiasm. He comes with a lot of like he's hungry to do good work. So me and him jammed quite a bit. You know, we were creatively involved. In fact, we exchanged numbers, and he said, you know, I want to help you write the voiceover. Like, who does that? Someone who's really hungry to do good work. So he's always like energetic, and you know, we'll be experimental. Versus a very famous known actor might be comfortable in the way things are. It depends on the actor itself.
They have the set style.
Yeah, some actors, you know, might have a set pattern. Like Akshay Kumar arrives on set at 7 a.m. sharp, versus Shah Rukh Khan at 2 p.m., which I love. But yeah, like Shah Rukh Khan is always going to be Shah Rukh Khan. Versus I worked with Khushi on her first ad. It was her first campaign in her life, and she was very moldable. We had a great time, and we shot this amazing commercial for Myntra. And at the same time, we had to work together to kind of create what she was going to be like, her persona, because this was the first time that she was being represented on the internet and TV. Yeah. Sometimes you work with younger actors, and you know, they might come up with tantrums, a lot of tantrums. And sometimes the most experienced actors might be super humble. Like Hugh Jackman was the most humble person I worked with. So you realize that sometimes confidence is silent and insecurity is loud.
Yeah. So when brands come to you and they say pitch that they want a certain actor, they mention a name that I want this actor in my commercial, and you know that this actor is great but is not the right fit for this particular commercial.
Yeah.
Do you have a say in suggesting?
Definitely. Many times, you know, they come up with a couple of names saying we are approaching this person or this person, and definitely I would, you know, suggest them the right person for the job, because you know, like working with so many people, you know what each person's strength is, you know what each person's weakness is. So you can obviously, as a director, you always suggest. Sometimes brands come to you directly with, you know, they have someone for 5 years, you know, so that also happens. Like, but at the same time, many times, you know, I've recommended and suggested names that work out well, because you understand the brand and all of that.
Right.
So has COVID changed things and impacted your work and the whole setup and behind the scenes?
Definitely. I feel like we've all learned to be a lot more flexible. As a team, we've learned to work from home, which is great in post-production. And, you know, before we were always at work, at studios. And now we've realized that you don't have to be everywhere for everything to happen. Now I can dub with someone who's living in London, and he'll just send over the file. So like that, I think that convenience has really changed the way we operate. I directed many ads during COVID from my own living room.
Really?
Yeah.
Can you dive deeper into it?
Sure. So I directed commercials for Clean and Clear face wash. I directed for Listerine mouthwash. Various commercials for like the internet, and we had obviously like crew members on a set, but during a certain period of COVID, I was also super protective about leaving the house because I live with my parents, and so they basically structured the whole shoot in such a way that I had a monitor at home on Zoom, So I was literally on Zoom directing the actors, framing, and telling them to move this and create a set in such a way. And we directed many successful campaigns during COVID.
Because there was demand,
There
brands
was a
were
lot of work.
spending,
There
right?
was brand spending, and we managed to sail through
But that's so
with a great
interesting.
team.
Like you are used to being in a physical setup and physically directing people. Like it's a
Yeah.
lot of people management,
It
right?
is. It is.
So how challenging was it for you to be on a screen and yelling at people or telling people to act in a certain way or asking your light guy to like be in a certain position? How
Yeah.
challenging was it?
It was definitely quite challenging because you're used to dealing with certain things in person, but at the same time it was the same because on set my job is to sit in front of a monitor and give feedback or directions, and it was the same. So from that point of view, it was the same, but at the same time maybe my OCD self was feeling a little nudged from area to area,
Yeah.
but I managed and sailed, and the campaigns came out successfully, and I think that's what clients were happy and I was happy, and we were safe, and that was the whole
Like you
intention.
mentioned, like it just showed like apart from being safe, like it really showed like how efficient you can be, and there were so many areas where you did not really need to go visit the
Definitely.
site. You could be just doing it at the comfort of your
Yeah.
home and probably take on multiple more projects because of it.
100%. I think we've realized that we can be more productive. We can get a lot more done. We can trust people a lot more. Whether you can save time and do multiple things. And I think whether it's work-life balance, whether it's just working on more projects, I think that's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys have in mind for the future of marketing, advertising, and PR for Galgal?
I mean, see, it's a mix, right? Again, we are a startup where we are trying to be very mindful about how we spend our money. And as everyone knows that right now is a funding winter, as they're calling it. So VCs are very careful in which companies they want to invest in. So we don't want to have a high burn rate.
Fair.
We want to be very mindful about how to spend our money, and we want to optimize our marketing spend in such a way where we get the highest ROI. So it's a combination of like social media, maybe some performance marketing where required, and also like actually trying to understand what the user base wants. And once we know what the user base actually wants, a lot of what I mean by that is a lot of research and development, because we can go mindlessly spending money on advertisement and hoping that one of those ads click, or we actually spend some time researching on what the TG looks like and what they actually want and what emotionally clicks within them, and make those limited ads that
Yeah.
actually target them efficiently.
Just to add on this, more than ads, I think we are focused on storytelling
Right.
and high quality content, and
Yeah.
using this podcast as a medium as well,
Which I think is excellent.
right? Because we realized just having static posts on social media, reels, is
No one
not
cares.
is too crowded now.
Yeah.
It's not even, I myself skip it.
Correct.
So why should my company post something which I'm only not like looking forward to look as a
Basically,
founder?
just create value.
Create value using podcasts, interviews, street style
Yeah.
interviews.
Fair.
Right, we've launched a new series
Okay.
called Auto Talks. So one of our brand ambassadors, he's a college student in Pune, is interviewing youngsters in an auto rickshaw because
Oh, cool.
that's affordable
Wow.
versus sitting in a car, which
Yeah.
you've seen that format
That
before.
comedians
Comedians
Yeah.
are doing.
drinking coffee in a car
Yeah.
or something.
So he's like, he can
That's-
afford a rickshaw ride, so let's do it in
That's
a
quite
rickshaw.
cool. I like it.
Yeah.
So just
You've
coming
got
up
to
with,
be creative, and I think that's so nice.
Yeah.
so I mean again, like this podcast is about like you have to like create value for the customer.
100%.
So having said that, like because we have our podcast team over here with us,
Yeah.
we have actually a bunch of questions that they had for you because they were quite excited that a director is coming as a guest. So there's this question where one of our team members have asked us, what are the tips of finding clients when you're just starting off? Assuming you're a freelancer or you just
Sure.
finished your filmmaking course
Yeah.
and you want to get your first client.
Definitely.
What's the go-to method according to you?
My suggestion would be, don't run after clients. Run after doing good work. Whether it is learning from somebody, whether it's doing a self-funded project. But at the end of the day, if you want to hire an architect, you want to see their vision, you want to see what they've made in the past. So similarly, as a director, as someone who makes ads, as someone who makes any kind of content, people want to see what you've made in the past. So it all comes down to your show reel. So spend your time, energy in cracking and creating good work, whether it's pro bono work, but create something which shows your skill, which shows your vision, which shows what you're capable of. And when people see good work repetitively, they come to you. So instead of you running after people, hire me, because I've done that when I was 21, and obviously I was at a juvenile stage of my life. And now when I've only focused on doing good work, people come towards you to hire you.
Great.
Great answer.
Now, there's another question over here which says, how do you personally manage the project when things are going wrong?
That's a fun question because things go wrong all the time, especially when you're on productions. Sometimes people paint the wrong wall color, sometimes people sets break. There are a lot of things that go wrong. What I personally do is I meditate every morning, which is my practice, just to keep myself calm. And I also realize that I am not someone who's individually responsible for everything. While I'm also a medium, in hiring so many people. And it's just like I'm a vessel and it all flows through me. So keeping that perspective in mind, and the truth is, no matter what goes wrong, it always works out. Like even if you're on set, the actor fell sick, you get a new actor. If whatever happens, and I think countless things have happened with at least me and other directors and everyone who's working in this industry, and you always manage.
Yeah. I feel like meditation you mentioned, because me and Harsh like actively meditate, and like the way I look at it is like your mind is like it's been said before, I'm not the first one quoting it, but your mind is like a stream of water.
Correct.
When the water is clear, you can see what's in the bottom of the stream. If you have a lot of thoughts going on and you are too cluttered in your mind, then that stream is moving too fast and you can't see the bottom of the stream. Which means that tomorrow, if you're faced with a tough situation, you cannot collect your thoughts in the most effective way, you cannot function in the most effective way, which might not be the best thing to do in that particular situation.
100%.
Whereas if you are very calm and you can actually assess the situation in a way that, okay, this is what's happening, possibly these are the things that could go wrong, what is the best thing in this situation that I can do? So let me just do that. And you being calm is actually like a big support system for the people around you, being a director.
100%. I feel like how you behave shapes the vibe of the set. And at the same time, I feel like this is like an extreme profession, from the fact that you have 10 hours, 8 hours, you're working with a celebrity who also has limited amount of time. So it's your responsibility to juice out the most.
Yeah.
And for that, you have to be in that present moment. So how Ronaldo must be preparing for like a football match, you've got to at the same time prepare in a certain way that in this 8 hours, you are on top of your game. You are as present. You are in this present moment, dealing with things instantly and not in your head. So I feel like from that point of view, mindfulness has helped me. At the same time, if you are calm, your team is calm, and it all flows from top to bottom.
Yeah. I have another question.
Sure.
We went quite deep over this, so this is another deep question. What sort of career trajectory to follow, and how do you balance the passion of filmmaking with the commercial aspect of making money?
Definitely. It's a good question. I think when you're starting out, at least the way I approach this, I can speak for myself. I was initially tempted to just freelance and make lots of money. But again, I had no experience backing me. I had no like qualification per se, from the point of view that I was like, if I work with one company, I'll probably make a lot less money, but I have a lot more exposure. I get to deep dive into things. I also have this opportunity to grow with a team, which is not going to pay you off immediately, but over time, and I've noticed it time and again, it was a trade-off that I made of procrastinating, getting paid to learn. So by the time I worked for a couple of years and worked with so many directors, that I also ended up getting like a lot of experience, and I also ended up getting opportunities that fell into my lap because I was not a freelancer. As a freelancer, no one cares for you. But if you're with a team, people want to see their own people succeed. So from that point of view, I would say don't freelance in the start of your career. Build a team, work with somebody, learn, get skills, get clients, get known, and then step out as a freelancer if you'd like to.
Very interesting. Thank you, Nikhil. I'm sure the team thanks you as well for this.
Cheers.
So to ask you one last question from my side,
Sure.
what's next? After 500 ads, what is driving you? What is the passion, right? Like you said, you still got that hunger to make good ads out there and be creative. What's next for you? Yeah.
I think it's the urge to create that you wake up with every morning, and that's the fun, you know, like the fact that you get to create something, you have been blessed with a vision, and people support you. And I think it's all about creating, whether it's creating graphic design, whether it's creating a film, whether one day it would be creating a cafe. I think it's all about creating something that does not exist in this universe, and you're telling it from your point of view, your unique worldview. And I think that is what excites me. It's like you're the only human being on this planet who can tell the story from your point of view.
Yeah.
And I think I'm excited to take this new leap now into a lot more things. I won't tell too much, but there's a lot pending, and I have miles to go.
I feel anyone who's in this industry is a blessed person, because very few people get the chance to actually get their ideas to life in such a format where it's not just about creating a small business, it's not just about telling someone about your idea. You're creating it, you are letting other people get involved in it, you are adding their creativity, you're fueling the project in such a way that it creates employment for a lot of people.
Correct.
And then you broadcast it to the entire world. So it's a beautiful art, it's a beautiful profession, and I wish you the best, man.
I wish you guys the same. I hope Galgal takes it to another level, and we make some cool ads in the future.
Hopefully, man. Yeah, cheers
Hopefully.
to that.
Great chatting with you guys, and it's been a lovely, fruitful conversation.
Likewise.
Really squeezed a lot.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you guys.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
Cheers. Cheers.